Lust isn't polite. It doesn't knock. It doesn't ask for permission. It just barges in. One look, one voice, one text. And suddenly, someone you barely know lives rent-free in your head. You feel alive, excited, even high. And yet, if you've been through it, you know how quickly it can go from beautiful to brutal. It lifts you up, only to leave you spinning, questioning, aching. But what exactly is lust? Is it love's dangerous cousin? A trick of biology? A test from the universe? Or maybe it's a mirror. One that reflects not only what we desire, but what we lack. Over the years, many of you have shared how lust has shaped your relationships, sometimes creating unforgettable memories, other times leaving emotional scars. So today, we're not here to shame it. We're here to understand it, to break it down, because lust isn't just one feeling. It's a journey, one that unfolds in 5 distinct psychological stages. From the first glance to the final decision, stay or walk away. Where? Are you on that path? Let's walk through it step by step, and by the end, you may understand not just lust, but yourself. Stage 1, that first spark, it always starts with something small. A glance, a laugh. The way someone says your name like it matters. Maybe you're just grabbing coffee, lost in your thoughts, and suddenly, there they are. Your brain doesn't ask for details. It just decides, this person matters. And in a matter of seconds, your body agrees. Your pupils dilate, your heart rate quickens, your breathing changes. It's like your nervous system just stepped on the gas pedal and you don't even know why. This is what neuroscientists call the attraction cascade. When you see someone who triggers your desire, your brain releases a cocktail of dopamine, adrenaline, and norepinephrine. It's the same neurochemical storm associated with risk-taking, thrill-seeking, and yes, addiction. You feel awake, alive, drawn in. And yet you don't know this person. Not really. What you're reacting to isn't who they are, but what they represent. Maybe it's a quality you crave in yourself. Maybe it's the confidence you lack. Maybe it's just mystery and your mind fills in the rest. Let's be honest. How many times have we fallen for a fantasy based on 5 seconds of eye contact? Or built an entire love story in our heads from a few Instagram photos? This stage is purely primal. It's not about compatibility or shared values. It's biology whispering, look, mate, multiply, and yet it feels magical. Because for a brief moment, we escape our own minds. We become the hunter, the dreamer, the bold version of ourselves we don't usually let out. That's why the first spark is so addictive. Not because of who the other person is, but because of who we feel like in their presence, and that is the most seductive illusion of all. Stage 2, infatuation. The first spark caught your attention, but infatuation is where the fire starts to spread. You wake up thinking about them. You go to sleep replaying their words. You check your phone 5 times in 1 minute, hoping for a message, a like, a sign that they're thinking of you too. Their name becomes a soundtrack in your head, looping behind everything you do. And suddenly, the world gets tinted in their colors. Psychologists call this state limerence, an obsessive, involuntary state of intense desire. It's not just wanting someone, it's needing them to want you back. It's the fantasy of being chosen by them that becomes addictive. You might imagine your first trip together, their voice reading you a book in bed, or what your kids might look like, even if you've only been on 2 dates. You hear a love song and instantly think, that's our song. You buy a new outfit, not for yourself, but because they might see me in this. This isn't love. Not yet. Love is grounded. Infatuation floats, weightless and wild. It thrives on uncertainty. The what if, the maybe. It makes even the smallest gestures feel monumental. A delayed reply becomes a crisis. A compliment feels like oxygen. Ever had a moment where they laughed at your joke and it made your entire week? That's not just emotion, that's neurochemistry. Your brain, flooded with dopamine and norepinephrine, turns small moments into fireworks. And here's the danger. The less you know about them, the easier it is to idealize them. The mystery becomes a blank canvas, and you start painting them in the exact shades you desire. Maybe they haven't said much, but your mind fills in the blanks. They must be deep. They probably love the same books I do. They seem emotionally mature. You're not in love with them. You're in love with what they could be. This is where fantasy becomes a filter. It blocks out reality and shows you only what you want to see. And because it feels so good, we don't want to question it. We chase the feeling. We feed the illusion. We convince ourselves this must be fate. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt this pull towards someone? Was it really about them or about what you needed to feel about yourself? Stage 3 obsession. Now lust tightens its grip. This isn't a passing crush anymore. This is tunnel vision. They dominate your thoughts. You replay every conversation, analyze every emoji, wonder if that one word meant something deeper. You scroll through their photos like you're studying for an exam, zooming in, scanning faces, checking who commented. This stage is no longer romantic, it's obsessive. And here's the science behind it. According to neuropsychologist Dr. Lucy Brown, romantic obsession activates the same brain regions as cocaine addiction. When you're in this phase, your brain floods with dopamine, the same neurotransmitter released when a gambler hits a jackpot. But this isn't just pleasure, it's compulsion. You crave the high of their attention. And when they pull away, even a little, your brain interprets it as withdrawal. You panic, you chase. You rationalize. Maybe you even tell yourself they're just busy or they'll come around. You ignore red flags. You twist reality to keep the fantasy alive. But what are you really addicted to? In most cases, it's not the person. It's the version of them you've constructed. Your mind fills in their silences with meaning. You project traits you hope for: empathy, depth, ambition onto someone who may have never shown them. You're not in love with who they are. You're in love with who you need them to be. And sometimes obsession isn't about the other person at all. It's about you. It's about needing a distraction from your pain, your loneliness, your self-doubt. When life feels out of control, obsessing over someone can give the illusion of purpose. Every text becomes a lifeline. Every interaction, a mission. This is why so many people stay in toxic dynamics long after the joy is gone. The obsession itself becomes a drug. And here's the most ironic part. The more distant or unavailable they are, the stronger your feelings may grow. Why? Because intermittent reward moments of warmth mixed with coldness triggers the strongest addiction response in the brain. It keeps you guessing, hoping, chasing. You become trapped in a cycle. High so high you feel euphoric, and low so low you feel sick. Ever waited hours for a reply that never came, only to feel humiliated, but still hoping? That's not connection. That's emotional gambling. And the scariest thing, letting go doesn't just mean losing them. It means facing yourself, your hopes, your fears, your unmet needs. So instead, we stay. Not because it's love, but because the illusion feels safer than the truth. Asterisk. Stage 4 disillusionment. Asterisk. The fantasy starts to crack. The person you once saw as perfect now feels human, flawed. The glow fades, the filter slips, and suddenly, you notice things you used to ignore. Maybe they interrupt too often. Maybe they're emotionally unavailable. Maybe they ghosted you for a few days and you're realizing that wasn't an accident. Disillusionment feels like betrayal. But it's not them betraying you, it's reality betraying your fantasy. You start asking harder questions. Do we actually share the same values? Can they handle conflict without shutting down? Do they even see me or just enjoy the attention? And the answers? They're rarely romantic. This is the crash after the chemical high. Your brain, once soaked in dopamine, is now balancing out. Instead, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, begins to surface. It tries to shift you from obsession to connection, but connection requires something. Lust never needed truth. You can't fake emotional safety. You can't build a relationship on adrenaline and projection alone. And that's why this stage is often painful. Because it demands vulnerability, something many people avoid at all costs. Here's the irony. Some couples break up at this point, not because they don't care, but because they've never learned how to navigate real closeness. Real intimacy is not glamorous. It's awkward conversations, unmet needs, emotional nakedness. It's realizing that being seen means being vulnerable, and that's terrifying. Ever stay with someone longer than you should have just to avoid admitting it was never real? Or push someone away the moment they saw your flaws because deep down you feared they'd leave? That's disillusionment. It shows you what was built on sand and what, if anything, might be rebuilt on stone. Some couples use this phase as a wake-up call. They talk, they cry. They start over not from fantasy, but from truth. Others, they slowly detach, not with fireworks, but with silence. And honestly, both outcomes are valid because disillusionment isn't the end. It's just the first time you're seeing clearly. Stage 5 resolution asterisk. This is where the dust finally settles. The high has passed, the confusion has cleared, and now you face a choice. Two paths emerge, neither wrong, both transformative. Path A, you stay, but not because you're addicted or afraid to be alone. You stay because beneath the passion, you've found something rare, emotional truth. You've seen each other's worst. You've had the fights, the silences, the doubts. And yet, you both chose to lean in to grow, not just as lovers, but as people. Maybe it's the first time you had a real argument and didn't run. Maybe you cried in front of them and they didn't flinch. That's when lust begins to evolve into something deeper, quieter, stronger, into love. Path B, you leave. Not out of anger, but clarity. You realize the connection was real, yes, but only for a season. The magic was there, but the substance wasn't. You weren't compatible in values, in communication, in long-term direction, and that's okay, because some people are meant to enter our lives to awaken us, to teach us what we want, what we lack, what we're capable of feeling. But not everyone is meant to stay. There's dignity in walking away. There's wisdom in knowing when the story has served its purpose. And whichever path you take, something has changed. You're no longer the person who blindly chases desire. You've walked the entire path of lust, from fantasy to reality, and emerged with eyes wide open. That's the true resolution. Not just the ending of a connection, but the integration of what it taught you. So the next time lust stirs in your chest, maybe you'll pause. Maybe you'll listen to what it's really saying, not just, I want them, but what part of me is reaching out through this desire. And that is where healing begins. Asterisk, asterisk. So the takeaway is this: lust isn't a single moment. It's a process that unfolds in stages. Understanding these stages isn't about killing the romance. It's about becoming a more conscious and free participant in your own emotional life. So ask yourself, which stage are you in? And are you ready for the next? 1.